What's the miracle you didn't baby Mosin? Look at what I'm coming in with. Holy shit. I'm going in slick armor, all-tin helmet, VSS with 30 drum mags with SP6, full of nades, stems, all the best medicine. I'm just running all day with this almost 500,000 character. Shit. And surviving every single time. Nobody could even kill me yet with this setup. They didn't even hit the helmet once or the armor once in like 6-7 games. They couldn't even hit it once. I didn't receive a single shot. They always get me in the legs, all over the place. Look, stomach, left arm, right arm, left leg, everywhere. Thorax they even got me. Shit. How the fuck did they get me in the thorax? I think I think this part here, if they shoot it, it actually hits the. How, how did they? How can you hit the thorax? Is the armor this small? Um, I'm thinking maybe get the one with the sleeves. This one instead of the slick armor. Slick armor is just a statement. It's just such a statement. And I have a whole bunch of them as well. I think I have like 5 or 6 of them. I've been collecting them. Even going with this, like with this setup, going with this setup precisely, I haven't died once. I'm going solo all day. I remember the old days where you brought the baby mouse and yeah, R700. Yeah, it was epic. Can't wait. Wow, how did I never even hit him in the armor once? Wow. He had fuck all. But yeah, you can come join me if you want. I'll invite you on a duo run if you like. I'm going so thick. I used to be very scared and I still am. But I stopped dying, really. With this one, I just don't push much. I just like I spawn in, I kill a couple people, hang at extract for a bit. I take it like very safe. So yeah, I think I've been playing like about 8 games in a row. They haven't even shot me once. They haven't shot me once. Helmet or slick armor. I think they just once they see you like that, when you see this dude approaching you, you just lose all hope. There is no way killing this man. I mean, actually, maybe there is. He got me pretty good with just that stupid shotgun. I, I feel like this armor is still too small. It kinda, it deceives people to thinking that I'm not strong. But I don't know. Maybe they know. Remember the guy with the blue helmet? Poor him. With the Lavsky card, yeah. Okay, I could go with one of these, but only like if it's fully. Do you think it would still work? I feel like I'm gonna change it like this and I'm gonna get killed for no reason. But I guess so many more things covered though. It might be better. Need more HP with it. Just casually buy it. Just rich as fuck. Where do they even start from? 62? It's not bad at all. 66? Yeah, I think this is a good armor for the money. Okay, 66 sounds good. Offer not found. I feel like that rule though. You don't change like a complete chat. Yeah, I think this game needs leg armor, arm armor, and I don't think it's ever gonna have it. I think I need to make my own game to do that. 59. There's another 59 here. Yeah, 59 sounds good. Come on. Okay. Mm, and go like that. This one here. 59. Shit. Pretty good. I think it's better than Slick Armor. I keep getting shot in the stomach, in the arms, all over the place. They don't even hit it. Yeah, it's like it's level 6, but it's 200k. 200k for having only thorax? I know it's like so good speed movement, but holy shit. This one I'm gonna get a bit slowed down, minus 20. But I don't move that much. I mean, ergonomics are gonna go down the toilet. Actually, no, minus 14. Yeah, ergonomics gonna go down the toilet. What does it even do, ergonomics? Exactly. Turning speed, change turning speed. That's kind of shit. But at least I'm not gonna have my arms blown off. Let's see, let's try it for one go, one run. I still have to be killed with a slick on me though. They didn't even shoot at it. I feel like they see this armor, they're gonna start shooting it like crazy. Who knows? I've been killed with a Gen 4 before, I've never been killed with a slick. It's almost like fate. But yeah, no, I've been killing so many. Literally all day I've been going with Slick and Alton Helmet and VSS and nades. Nobody can touch me. Fill up the ammo. These mags are so expensive, but they're worth it. It's the whole difference between killing them and being killed. There might be two of them. You always wanna have the 30 mag. Because you kill them so quick. Really want the 30 drum. I mean, not on a budget, but just 40k. Just in mags, it's like 120k just for 3 mags. 120k. It's like, it's a whole armor like this. So it's too much. 330 round mags already pushing it, but I haven't died in like 10 rounds, so it's kind of justified because I never die. So I'm like, all right, I can push it. Slick armor though. Complete chat.
Сдохни, тварь! Хуйло, конец тебе! Вон он, сука! Вот он! Куда он проебался-то? Ниндзя ебаный! Вот он! Куда пошел? Ебать тебе парика нахуй! Да вот он! Давай, мочи их! Ты чё там, бля, вопишь, упырь? Быстро! Давай, мочи! Граната!
Hey guys, what's up? Phoenix here, and I'm back again in Escape from Tarkov, and today we're going to be looking at the differences between two.
Hey guys, and welcome to Face of the One. This is quite a long front. Okay, so for currently in the game, the lowest recoil foregrip is the RK2, and the highest ergonomics is on Peacekeeper Tier 4, the Fortis Shift tactical grip. This is all you need to make this either the lowest recoil or the highest ergo. So for the lowest recoil, you literally just pull it on the TOS mount, and then there you go. You can't really get much lower recoil than 39. The thing with VSSs and AS Vals, their recoil is so low, there's no point really in lowering the recoil. You just more want ADS speed more than anything. So if you put the Fortis shift on, you can increase the ergonomics of the gun to 60 instead of 50. So there you go. This is the lowest recoil and highest ergo build for the AS Val and the VSS. Okay, so we're inside the hideout. Of course, if you want to get the recoil lower, you put yourself on a Cobra mount, as it's minus 1% recoil. Bullet is really bad for your ergo. So I'll show you the ergo build first of all. As you can see, ADS time is pretty decent with this gun. I mean, standard, you can't really feel much of the difference. Personally, I would still go with a Fortis. So let's now shoot from standing. Push over to full auto. You can see there's pretty much no jump in the recoil. I mean, you get initial kick. They'll be dead within the first 10 bullets. The extra 20 is just to make sure if you're a bad shot. Personally, because yeah, the SP6 is extremely powerful and quite cheap. In this gun, you can get a VSS for about 40k off the flea market. So this build here might be quite viable for some people. Like I said, go with the Fortis grip. To me, the ergonomics on the ADS speed is more important. But guys, hopefully this gun will bring you some use. Hopefully we're going to see it a bit more in circulation. You don't usually see this gun this much. Guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Kids nowadays are modding all these M4s, the AK-74Ns. They're modding all these guns to make them look all beefy and beautiful. Well, guess what? All us veterans know, all you need is an AS Val. You need 2 attachments for it, and the thing rips people's heads off. You don't even need 30 rounders. You can just use 20 rounders in this gun, and you can use cheaper ammo than the SP6. I'm going to tell you some secrets that are hidden away and only pro streamers know them. That and people that just regularly play this game. But still, pro streamer secrets are getting revealed. As Tarkov players, we do get conditioned to one thing. Once we get a little more experience and we feel more comfortable with the game, there's one thing we can all agree on, and that is any stock gun we get is utter and complete garbage, and we should put as many bells and whistles on a gun to make it low recoil, high ergo, make it look super fancy and sweet. That's not the case for the AS Val though. The AS Val is actually perfect the way it is. Well, almost perfect. Like I said, you do need to add 2 things to it, but you know, as my mom would say, you're perfect the way God made ya. And the AS Val is perfect almost the way it is, but I do make a couple of modifications only so we can get a sight on there. And I'm going to show you a couple of reasons why I use certain magazines or certain ammo. But first, I do want to show you a couple of clips from the past day or 2 that I've gotten with this gun, the way I'm going to show you how to build it. If there was one thing that really stuck out from all those clips, it was probably the sound of me constantly reloading. And that's because I went with 20 round clips instead of 30 round clips. It was kind of like a challenge to myself to see if I could use 20 rounders instead of 30 rounders. 20 rounders are from Prapor level 3. They're 6,239,000 rubles. That's not too bad for a magazine of this caliber compared to, say, like, let's say a 30 rounder for the AS Val. It goes from Prapor level 3. You can trade 3 yellow pliers if you want, or if you just want to outright buy them, you can go to Prapor level 4 and buy one for 30,189,000 rubles. That is almost 5 times the cost of one 20 round magazine. So if you are really ruble conscious, this is just a no-brainer to go with a 20 rounder rather than a 30 rounder. But the problem is if you run into groups of 2 to 3 to 4 people, it does get pretty hairy, you know, let alone having 30 rounders. You could probably take down a 2-man with really good shots, but 20 rounders, it's a really tough. Thankfully, they did just change the weight system, and as much as everyone wants to think, there's not many people running tier 6 armor as much anymore. Yes, a little, you know, still some tier 5s running around for sure. I'm one of them, but mostly it's tier 4 armor that I'm seeing a ton of. And that brings me to my next section I want to talk about, and that is the ammo I chose and why I chose it. If you guys don't know, this whole video honestly was inspired by a Veritas video. If you haven't watched it, you should go watch it. It's all on ammo, but he talks about how SP5 is just slightly worse than SP6, but not by much. So I did use only SP5 in all those clips, and I used it for the longest time, and now I'm a believer and I'm only using SP5. And let me explain to you guys why I'm only using SP5. SP5 is from Prapor level 2 and it's 142 rubles a round. Whereas SP6, it's Prapor level 3 and it's 615 rubles a round. But you know what? Just take away the difference. You know, it is quite a big difference. I'm not going to lie to you. It's just the availability. If you don't buy SP6 quick enough, it usually sells out and you're only allowed to buy 200 rounds every trade or reset. Where SP5, you can buy unlimited amount and it's so cheap, you can just throw it even in your backpack and you don't care about it. It stacks in 50s and you can have an extra 150 if you want in there. So if you are using 30 rounders or 20 rounders, you know, you don't have to gamma the ammo and be like, oh no, I don't want to lose this ammo. You don't give a shit. It's cheap ammo. And the other thing I really like about it is there are a lot of hatchlings running around right now. I don't know about you, but I do run a lot of Shoreline, and on Shoreline there is a lot of hatchlings running. And killing a hatchling with SP6 just feels like such a waste of ammo. It's like, there goes 3,000 to 4,000 rubles. Damn it. And you only can buy 200 rounds per trader reset. So you're like, damn it. Where SP5, you're like, I do not care. Like, you know what I mean? Just like, here, I'll throw a whole mag into you and I could not give a shit. And that's what I truly like about it. You can look at the stats here. It does do more flesh damage, the SP5, than the SP6. Obviously, the SP6 is better in penetration power. But like Veritas did in his video, which you are going to be able to look at in the link down below, I'm going to put it in the description because I think you should go watch the video. He goes way more in depth in it. He knows a lot more than I do. And I just tested it out. But in the end, SP5 just felt better. I didn't feel so guilty wasting 5 to 10 rounds in that hatchling across the way. You know, it just felt right. I won't lie to you and tell you that there wasn't a couple of times where I did fight someone and I lost and I was like, you know what? I bet you if I had SP6, I definitely would have won but most of the time it just felt good having SP5. More times than not, I just felt more, not confident, but just me lackadaisical. You know, I just didn't care if there's a hatchling and I had to mow him down. I was like, oh yeah, great, a hatchling. I wasn't like, shit, a hatchling, I have to waste some money. So, you know, with the availability being a thing, with the price difference, and with the overall just me being more confident in not worrying about how much ammo I use, I liked SP5. And I honestly think you will too. But say you're saying right now, hey geeks, I'm rich though, I've got millions of rubles. Okay, do what you're gonna do. But for the conscious people out there, if you do have a little bit of extra rubles and you wanna know which one you should get, either SP6 or 30 rounders, if you can only pick one, I'd get SP5 and I'd get 30 rounders. 30 rounders are really, really important sometimes. It is nice to have an extra 10 rounds, especially if you are using SP5. I'm not gonna lie to you. You can do a lot of damage still with 20 rounders, but if you do have the extra rubles, hey, spend it on the 30 rounders instead of the SP6. I will show you now how I do mod my AS Vals. It's nothing fancy because let's be honest, the AS Val is already amazing. Here's the AS Val just as if you got it from a weapons crate. And the one thing I do want to point out, just as a stock AS Val, the vertical recoil is 44 and the horizontal recoil is 78. That is ridiculously low. That's what makes this gun so amazing, is it shoots like a laser. But you want some sort of sight on the gun, obviously, so that you have better sights than just say the generic AS Val right here. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put some sort of mount on it. So you could use the OKP7 Dove on there. It already has a mount. You could put, say, the B13 and put any mount you want on it, or say the Cobra or the Plaid. Personally, what I like is I like this SVD low side mount. It looks just like it sounds. It's very low to the gun, so you don't see it too much in your field of view. And you can also put any sort of sight you want on there. I prefer the PKO6. It's just the sight that I really enjoy. And this is the gun I used in the montage video, just this. I didn't do anything else to it. It was just this gun. Added 2 attachments and I was ready to go. But if you do want to make it, you know, a little more nifty, as the kids would say, you can use a 30 round clip, or you can stay with a 20 round clip. But to mod it, say with better ergonomics, is what you're looking for. What you're gonna add here is you're gonna add the TAWS mount, and then you're gonna add the shift grip. And why you're gonna add the shift grip is because the shift grip gives you the most ergonomics in any grip. And now our ergonomics is at 60. But I also have been seeing a lot of guns from people that I kill modded the AS Val a little differently, and I looked into it, and apparently I think Veritas uses this gun that I'm gonna show you, and a couple of other big streamers that are known killers. So what they're doing is they're taking off this Val stock, they're putting in a rotor, and they're adding the Plaid, or no, the PRS right here, PRS Gen 3, and they're making it so that the ergonomics is 71. If you want to do that, hey, all the power to you. If you have the rubles to do it, why not, right? Personally, I don't think you need to spend all those rubles. I think it's still a laser beam. If you want those extra level 11 ergo giver, personally, I think you should just keep it stock. You know, it's still a laser beam, you guys. It's still so good like this. And even if you just take it this, it's still amazing. Yes, you don't have as good as ergo, but I'm telling you guys, this is amazing. The one thing I would change is maybe the 30 rounder. Thank you, nerds, so much for watching the video. If you liked it, maybe think about subscribing, maybe giving it a thumbs up. Also, I do stream on twitch.tv 5 days a week. I hope to see you guys around there. I really do want to know what you thought about SP5. Tell me if you hate it. Tell me if you loved it in the comments below. Come visit me on Twitch. But until next time, I'll talk to you nerds later.
Most of the new players in the Tarkov community see someone rocking high-level armor and assume that they're nearly impossible to kill. For one reason or another, if they struggle to take down some of these juiced-up enemies, they often go searching for advice from their friends or their favorite content creators. More often than not, the blame is placed solely on the ammo used by the newbie. Dude, you can't use that. That's trash ammo. You need to use the good stuff. Sure, it's expensive, and I know that you're, low on rubles because you're a newbie and all, but trust me, it's worth it. Watch. See how fast I take down this dude wearing some of the best armor in the game. In less than 1 second, his armor is completely shredded and he's dead. That's why investing in ammo, even something that costs around 900 rubles per bullet, is absolutely worth it. Wait, SP5. What? No, dude, that's SP5. Wait, wasn't that SPP? That had to have been SPP or something. Maybe at worst SP6, right? There's no way that was SP5. It only has like 35 pen, and that was level 6 armor.
Нормально живем, пацаны.
Laid the fuck out.
How could you?
SP5 is like 140 rubles per round. SPP costs like 900 a round. It's cost 6 times more, so it's gotta be 6 times better, right? Is it 3 times better? I mean, maybe at least like twice as good, right? Forget it. Let's compare them side by side.
Ready?
Maybe what we've all been taught about ammo has been a drastic oversimplification. We all reference the ammo charts, but do we really understand what the values in the charts really mean? It's my experience from talking to most people in the community that the answer to this is no. So let's all learn together, shall we? One of the most commonly discussed and debated topics in most Tarkov streams, especially mine lately, has been ammunition. Now, I'm asked some variation of the question of what's the best ammo for this gun, probably 100 times a stream every day. And more often than not, others in chat, as well as many content creators, will all answer the same 1 or 2 ammo types for each given caliber. It's my personal opinion that this question is much more complicated and a nuanced one that deserves more of a response than that. This question is one of those questions that makes it clear that the person asking it is doing so with a host of unstated assumptions, and or that they're unaware of all the important considerations that make the right answer to this question something different depending on a host of factors that they aren't even aware of. Oversimplifying this topic down to which ammo has the most pen or the most damage can help people sort of blindly follow the meta, and if that's what you want to know, look at the ammo charts. In my honest opinion, this sort of thinking is what leads these same folks into wondering things like, oh, well, I shot this guy 6 times with the Mosin and he didn't die, or I can't get the best ammo, so I just use flesh damage rounds and go for leg meta, or I'm sick of going to this specific map because it's full of cheaters. All I do is get one-tapped through my 250,000 ruble helmet. Now, I'm of the opinion that giving a simple answer to a complex question is, for the most part, doing a disservice to the person asking the question if that person actually really wants to learn something. Now, following this philosophy of, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, you feed him for life, here's my attempt at explaining all of the considerations that you should keep in mind for determining which ammo choice is the best for you. Once you understand all of the different factors related to how ammo performs in Escape from Tarkov, you'll be able to read the various ammo charts and wiki pages totally differently, and you'll actually be able to figure out for yourself which ammo is the best for you when wipes happen, when you're back to level 1 traders, you otherwise have limited options or limited funds. They completely rebalance the ammo values or add completely new ammo types and calibers to the game. You'll be set no matter what. Now, each bullet has a damage property, which, like nearly all of the ballistic properties in the game, are not provided to you in the game itself, but rather can be found on 3 primary places that I'll link in the description. You have No Food After Midnight's ammo charts, the Tarkov wiki, and inside my Battle Buddy mobile app. When a bullet impacts the body of an enemy, the damage value is applied to the impacted zone of the body, reducing the health points of that zone down by the same amount as the base damage value of the round. Now, if you guys are interested, I can put out another video where I go more in depth into how damage is distributed throughout the body, how overflow damage when a blacked out limb is hit, some of the different modifiers and multipliers around the different zones of the body, and how that affects the damage distribution, and in my opinion, some of the more questionable, iffy, potentially borderline buggy issues around health and damage and how they kind of work together. If you guys want to see that video, let me know, and I can work on that for you as well, because I think that that's super important. But yeah, I really don't want to get sidetracked too much with that, so I can come to that in another one if you'd like. Now, related to flesh damage, each round has an armor damage value, indicating how devastating that round is to armor upon impact. Now, this number is not a percentage. It's a separate value, just like the normal damage value, that's used in the armor ballistic calculations. Now, there are a number of variables used in the calculation of the resulting total damage that armor takes when impacted by a bullet, including whether or not the armor stopped the bullet, the material of the armor's durability, its the armor damage value of the bullet itself. Now, how these variables are applied is a bit of a black box, but for all intents and purposes, your takeaway from this should be that the higher the armor damage value, the more damage it'll do to armor, obviously. Different armor materials are more resistant to ballistic impacts and are also more effectively repaired. Now, I'll give you a quick visual from worst to best, comparing the different materials and their current relative values, which I'll refer to as destructibility. Basically, the lower the better. Now, I've talked about penetration a few times in some previous videos, which I'll toss some annotations on screen for now. But I'll give you a quick summary right now for how the ammo's penetration value and the armor's armor class interact with each other. Armor classes range from 1 to 6, and ammo penetration values range from 1 to over 60. Now, a few simple rules of thumb will give you tons of information about how these numbers relate. Now, also note that I'll be rounding these values for simplicity's sake. So let's take Class 3 armor, for example. First, to make the comparisons a bit simpler, let's divide the penetration values by 10. So anything with a penetration value of 20 from the perspective of the bullet, we're just going to call 2. 30 pen, we're just going to say 3. 40 pen, we're just going to call 4, etc. Now, if the ammo's pen value is 1 less than the armor class, then there's about a 10% chance it's going to penetrate. If the adjusted pen value and armor class are the same, there's about a 90% chance to pen. And if the pen value is 1 more than the armor class, then there's about a 96% chance to penetrate. As you can see, these percentages aren't linear. As we go between each adjusted pen value, which again is something like 30 penetration to 40 penetration. So keep that in mind when comparing ammos, even if they have a few extra points of penetration. It's a minor thing, but it's worth keeping in mind that against Class 3 armor, for example, the difference between ammo with 20 and 22 pen compared to ammo with 28 and 30 pen. Now, the difference here amounts to 2 penetration points in both cases, but note the percentage differences when, going from 20 to 22 versus 28 to 30. The closer you get to that round number threshold, the more each pen value is worth, so keep that in mind. Alright, so what happens if the ammo does or does not penetrate? The easiest way to understand penetration, damage, and armor damage is to kind of show it in a simple matrix. If a round penetrates the armor, it'll have its flesh damage value reduced slightly, but for the most part, it's going to do the majority of its original damage value to the underlying zone of the body, and the round will do a relatively small amount of damage to the armor. Now, conversely, if the round fails to penetrate the armor, as in the armor stops the bullet from penetrating to the flesh, it's going to do a very small amount of blunt damage to the underlying zone of the body, usually only a few points. But the armor is going to take more damage as compared to the previous example where it didn't stop the round. Now, every bullet has a fragmentation chance value, which is exactly what it sounds like. The chance for a round to fragment into multiple projectiles doing additional damage. You can think of this simply like a critical hit that does an additional 50% damage. For example, currently 5.56 by 45mm M995 has a base damage value of 41 and a fragmentation chance of 32%. This means that roughly 1/3 of the bullets that hit the enemy's flesh will fragment and do about 62 damage total. Now, this can be a massively significant factor in firefights and is something that you should keep in mind when comparing different ammo options. Now, beware here. It's extremely important to know that as of right now, fragmentation is bugged in a specific set of cases. If the round has less than a 20 penetration value, it will not fragment. This means rounds like the 12 gauge RIP shotgun slugs will not fragment ever, even though they have a 100% fragmentation chance. Now, of course, this is subject to change at any time, but this has been an issue for quite a long time, probably at least a year, if not longer. So I have no reason to think it's going to be fixed anytime soon. Now, the final ammo property I'll touch on briefly is the round's muzzle velocity. The muzzle velocity of the round will affect the bullet's point of impact compared to your point of aim, depending how different the velocity is relative to specified reference velocities. Put more simply, if the bullet is faster than the reference velocity, then those rounds will tend to land higher than your point of aim, whereas if it's slower than the reference velocity, it tends to land lower. I'll link my recent video here on zeroing and ammo where I go into far more detail on the subject for those of you guys who are interested, but the takeaway from this should be that the vast majority of rounds for a given caliber all have different but still relatively similar muzzle velocities, with a few exceptions. For example, both 5.45 and 7.62 calibers have a number of different bullet variants, including US variants that have drastically lower velocities than the average bullet of the caliber and much less than the reference counterparts. So they can be very difficult to use at ranges even as close as 50 meters. Keep an eye on this velocity value, and when you're able to, compare with other rounds of the same caliber to ensure that you're not deviating too much. You should be okay. So now, with all these variables in mind, let's take a look at some specific real Tarkov examples of how different ammos perform in different situations. And I'll walk through my thought process for weighing the pros and cons of each round so I can determine the best ammo for me in the current meta for most of the common situations I expect to run across right now. Now, as I mentioned earlier, most folks consider the best ammo the one with the highest pen value, and by now, at this point, you know I disagree. In order to objectively compare the different options available to us and get a realistic idea for how these rounds actually compare in terms of in-game performance when used in various firearms against different combinations of armor and with different accuracies and aim strategies, my preferred way of doing this is calculating the average time to kill, which I do using the ballistic simulation that I built into the Battle Buddy app. This is currently only on iOS, but at some point it's going to be on Android. Trust me, I'm working on it as much as I can in my free time. So this simulation takes into consideration everything from fragmentation chance, armor damage, durability, damage reduction of rounds when penetrating armor, blunt damage, realistic aim distributions across various zones of the body, and how much damage is dispersed throughout the different zones when hit and blacked out, and more. It is as close as I think anybody's ever come to a one-to-one mapping of how these systems behave in the game, which allows us to objectively compare drastically different gun and ammo combinations against others in a fair and meaningful way. At the end, we can use this time to kill value in tandem with the current economic price of each round to determine what's best for us, given the current meta and our budget. Let's start with a really interesting one first, the 7.62x54mm round shot through a Mosin. Now, to keep this from getting too long, let's limit it to the most common 4 rounds used for this caliber: 7N37, SNB, 7N1, and LPS. Starting off, let's compare their stats. 7N37 has the highest pen value in the game at 70, which is nuts. SNB sits up there as well at 62, 7N1 has a modest 45, and LPS is close behind at 42. Now, as we go down in penetration, we tend to go up in damage, with 72, 75, 86, and 81 damage respectively. Note that although LPS has a lower pen and lower damage value compared to 7N1, it has more than double the fragmentation chance of each of its competitors. Now, where things get crazy is the price, ranging from nearly 1,000 rubles per round down to under 200 rubles per round. Let's take a look at how they perform to see if the extra cost is really worth it. For this first example, let's assume a fairly reasonable average hit distribution. You'll be aiming center of mass, so most of the shots are going to be hitting the thorax and the stomach, but A lot of them are also going to be blocked by the arms, the left arm being a slightly higher percentage typically because it's more out front on the front of the gun, and a small percentage will hit the head. Now this is obviously not ideal, but it's a decent starting point to try to compare the performance objectively. Also note that I skipped level 1 armor as well as no armor because the results were honestly pretty much identical to level 2 in how they performed in most cases, so it just wasn't worth the time. Now starting with 7N37, you're going to see this pattern throughout most of these tests. Because higher penetration ammo has a very good chance to penetrate even the highest tiers of armor, it's effectively like they weren't wearing armor at all, which is why there's virtually no difference in the time to kill between level 2 armor and level 6 armor. On average, it took about 4 seconds to kill a target regardless of their armor class. And moving on to SMB, the same results were observed with level 6 armor being the only exception, averaging only 1 more shot to kill as compared to 7N37. So looking at 7N1, the additional damage but reduced pen leads to a faster time to kill below level 4 armor and a slightly higher time to kill against class 5 and 6. And finally, LPS performed comparably to 7N1, although, again, against level 6 armor was the exception, taking slightly longer. Now remember here that we're comparing rounds fired from a bolt-action rifle that can take, a single shot every 2 seconds on average or something like that. So because these rounds are hand-loaded one at a time, this allows for, more flexibility in terms of how much ammo you can take with you and how much you can keep in your protector case. So it's a bit different from later examples that we'll get into where you have much more ammo and magazines to consider. So take a look at this graph and come to your own conclusions about what ammo is best for you. Straight off the bat. Firstly, if I expect to be running into players with armor of class 4 or less, the cheapest it has the fastest time to kill, in common with 7N1, but costs nearly 4. I find most people I come across are in the level 3 to level 5 armor class range, so LPS is still looking pretty damn good, being the least expensive option by far and only being 1 more second time to kill. Now, if I find myself running into heavily geared people running level 5 and 6 armor all the time, which isn't really common right now, but tends to be much more common typically in the, weeks and days leading up to a new patch or a wipe, and either, everything costs next to nothing, or we all essentially have infinite money because of, pre-wipe events and stuff, I would definitely consider rocking the more expensive ammo, although nearly doubling the price of SMB to get 7N37 to save 1 second time to kill is debatable. Again, this is up to you. There's no right or wrong answer because preferences differ between people, but you can't really make an informed decision about your options if you don't have information to back it up. So now let's consider the same ammo options, but let's see how changing some of the circumstances here changes the results. Rather than using a bolt-action rifle, let's grab a semi-auto SVDS, and instead of having an average semi-random accuracy, let's assume that you're able to hit all of your shots on their thorax. Now, between the improved accuracy and faster fire rate, the time to kill is cut drastically here, so that's why our Y-axis range has been reduced from 0 to 10 as it was previously, now from 0 to 1. All of these are going to be basically taking a fraction of a second. So taking a look through all of them at once, we can see that in nearly every case, the time to kill is less than 2 shots, which happens in about 1/10 of a second, with the exception of the 2 lower pen rounds against level 6, taking 0.2 and 0.3 seconds on average to kill, respectively. Now again, it's up to you to determine based on your experience, your skill level, your finances, if the price difference is worth it for you. In this case, let's assume you're going to be taking 6 20-round magazines with you. Now, assuming worst case, that either you shoot all of the bullets or, you die and lose all of the ammo, which happens quite a bit, honestly, the total ammo cost difference between 7N37 and LPS is almost 100,000 rubles. Now, if it's worth it for you to risk 100,000 rubles potentially per raid for the rare chance that you'll run into someone with level 6 armor and that 1/5 of a second is enough of a difference between winning and losing a fight, by all means invest in that more expensive ammo. Nobody can tell you that you're wrong. It's purely subjective. If you're like me, you'd probably rather keep the 100,000 rubles in the bank and try your best to shoot people before they get a chance to shoot back, so that 1/5 of a second isn't really important. Sometimes that'll cost you, but honestly, I reckon in the long run, it'll pay off. Alright, so I don't want this video to go on forever and don't want to do every single, good round for every single caliber, so let's just do one more example and then we'll finish up. This should be enough to give you an idea for how to do this sort of thing for yourself, even if it's, much more of a crude or simple version. Let's go back to the gun that we started this video off with, the AS Val. Let's return to using the more realistic hit distribution and examine 4 different rounds: BP, SPP, SP6, and SP5. Feel free to analyze this little chart that I have here. You know enough now to be able to, do that yourself. You don't need me to go line by line. But just note the price difference between BP and SP5, and again, keep that in mind during this comparison. Also worth mentioning that the time to kill range here has been drastically reduced again, which should give you a hint at sort of the outcome here. BP takes between a tenth and a third of a second to down armor targets of varying armor levels. SPP performs virtually the same. SP5 is only slightly worse with a max time to kill against level 6 armor at 0.6 seconds, which is just a third of a second slower than BP, and SP5 performs nearly the same with only a tenth of a second on average longer than SP6 against level 5 armor. Now, I've been repeatedly told by people in my chat that I need to be running 30-round mags full of BP, if not SPP. That it's expensive, but it's totally worth it. You know what? Maybe to you it's worth it. That's fine. But when I compare the price difference between the two options, BP with 30-round mags and SP5 with 20-round mags, I can get twice as much ammo for half the price. With the rate at which the Val burns through ammo, especially given that sometimes it takes like a whole mag to kill an enemy, and also the rate at which I die without even firing a single shot these days, compared to the number of times that I get into a straight up, aim battle with someone and I died because I lost the time to kill race by a fraction of a second. It's ludicrous to me to even remotely want to spend that much cash on anything more than, SP6 at most. Again, your mileage may vary. The entire point of this video is, again, not to tell you what to use or what's best, but instead to inform the community as to what they should keep in mind when they're comparing and choosing and recommending all these different bullets. By all means, keep running BP and SPP. I really don't mind looting it off of you and selling it back to you again on the flea market. So this was a video that I was planning on doing for quite a while now, and up until recently I had the structure more or less down, but as of the result of a challenge from one of my closest community members and moderators, many of you know, Fluven, I had to take a step back, do some more research, and dig deeper into the subject to get a different and, in my opinion, clearer perspective. This is one of those rare situations where data and evidence has resulted in me changing my mind. Before these conversations and tests with Fluven, I admit that I had some misconceptions myself. I really do have to give him a huge, sincere thanks, for using a combination of curiosity and the tools and data at his disposal to kind of dig into this topic and propose something totally against the grain. Now, one of the things I want to say too here is beware of folks who, after watching this video, are going to pretend as if they knew all along just how viable some of these budget alternatives were, because while making this video, almost nobody in the community, including myself at the start, had this sort of perspective. Pretty much everybody I talked to, a couple of weeks ago before this whole SP5 thing started to go around, thought that SP5 was completely and utterly useless, was the worst round in the game, should never be used, and I think we're all a little bit more enlightened here. Now that you hopefully have a much better grasp on the different ballistic properties in the game and how they interact, you can couple that with your knowledge of the current meta, your goals, the challenges you face, personal preferences, and the state of your finances in the game, and make educated decisions about the different ammo choices you have at your disposal and how they stack up from a practical, economical, and effectiveness perspective. Hopefully you'll see now that Tarkov, at least how it is today, is a game of diminishing returns. In nearly all of the cases, from armor to ammo, every additional ruble you spend provides you a smaller and smaller benefit to your killing and survival potential. If you're swimming in rubles and have no problem dropping fat stacks on extended mags full of the best shit, go for it. More power to you. It'll most likely perform better and will save you, some percentage of the time. If not, don't fret, because now you understand how the different ammo offerings that are available to you, even on a budget at level 1 traders, perform relative to the myriad of, enemies and gear you're going to come across. Maybe you'll be able to find some middle ground somewhere, who knows? The purpose of this video, again, was to simply give you the knowledge and understanding you need to determine what ammo is best for you, what ammo is useless, what ammo is OP, right now versus the current meta, as well as, going forward in the future. Taking what's important and enjoyable to you in the game and combining that with, all of this information that I mentioned, that is really the only meaningful definition of best, in my opinion. So I hope that it helps you in your Tarkov journeys. Thanks again, everybody. for all the love lately, for Fluven for helping me, learn a little bit and with the testing, and everybody in the stream that will hopefully never ask me again what the best ammo is. Thanks again for you guys sticking around to the end of the video. I know these long ones sometimes are boring for people, but I try to make them as clear, concise, but as thorough as possible. I want to again thank Fluven for a lot of the information that I learned here, and for helping me test this out and destroying a bunch of his fort armors in the meantime. And thank you again to everybody watching for all the love, the comments, the subscriptions, everything. So we'll see you around. All right.
I'm pretty sure. Dates, names, number, product. Yes, sir. This account, I'll give up $1,200 and any twist us for it. Well, do you enjoy the best motel for yourself? Honor and humor. On the street.